A lot of you know the drill. We are the only show on the radio with 46 grade rain caps, and to be quite honest, if Scotty hadn't fallen out with Phil Larkin, we'd probably got a few more as well. Here is the legend. I understand was absolutely delighted with Leeds' performance today, and that will get stuck into him about that very shortly. Well done to Wakefield as well. It's not all about how bad Leeds are. Injury hit Wakefield today. Did you enjoy it, everybody, Leeds losing today? Come on, is that? Oh, come on. Did you enjoy Wakefield winning or not? Yeah! I'm not so sure. I thought I'd have enjoyed it a bit more than that personally. But well done anyway. Phil Kaplan is here, editor of 4020 magazine, the fantastic 4020 magazine, whose name we steal for our little radio show. He's a lifelong Leeds fan, so please don't be too cruel to him. The legend is here, Leeds through and through. Dare I ask you what you made of today, Gary? You might need the microphone. Yeah, what did you make of it?
Well, to be honest with you, Wakefield deserved it in the end, I would say. They took the chances very, very well. Leeds, they had loads of chances themselves, but as David Furner said after the game, the execution, realistically was very, very poor, very ordinary. But Wakefield took their opportunities, and as I say, the young kid on the wing, Kershaw, absolutely outstanding. He wasn't stoppable at times, and as I say, I think it was his debut today, and the try what he scored going the length of the field, I think he'll be very, very happy. He'll remember that debut. But Wakefield deserved it. Leeds have still got big problems.
They have indeed. We'll talk more about Wakefield's performance today. Richard Shawright is a long-suffering, I mean long-suffering,
I have been in this
Wakefield fan.
I've been in this room, sat down there where the people are now, being told to give up my shares in this club so we could go bust and start again. But when on the Bradford Bulls, we haven't restarted again. Oh no, we have, haven't we? But we're good now. We're fourth in the table.
Are you happy?
Very happy. We're
Third.
Why is this Castle playing now, aren't they?
Are Castleford losing?
Yeah.
Is that good news? Yeah. To all our cast listeners at home, we apologise for that. That was them, not us.
Playing to the audience.
Playing to the audience. Right, let's have a chat then. A lot has been made, Phil Kaplan, I'm going to start with you. A lot has been made about injuries in Super League, and we know we look around and the ice packs and bandages on knees and shoulders are in the right places. A lot has been made about injuries. Wakefield have got heaps of them. But they have won again. They should, in my opinion, have won on Thursday at Castleford. They didn't quite get the job done, but they have won today despite numerous injuries. What are your thoughts on that?
So that was another victory for spirit today, more than anything. I think Wakefield have shown over the last 2 seasons, finishing 5th, that they're building a squad that is built around guys who really enjoy each other's company. I think, just talking to Michael Carter before we came on air, he ranks this as one of the best victories in his tenure, as does Chris Chester, because they reckon that 75% of their salary cap was on the sideline today. That's massive. That says more about the team actually than the result.
Hold on a second though, what 75% of Leeds salary cap on the sideline with Conor Burrow?
No, that's 75% of their weight was on the sideline. I think the interesting thing, again, talking to Michael was a devotee of 2 games over Easter. He said that every club needs a home game economically to survive, and this is a very important period for clubs when it comes to budget and finance. He's now come round to the idea that we perhaps should only have 1 game over Easter, and that we need to have 13 home games for each club and commercially more effectively market those. I think we've seen, with the level of injuries we've got at every club at the moment, some considerably worse than others, that there is an issue about the number of games being played. Playing 2 games now over a 4-day period, 3 over 8 or 9, just does not work.
Well, we've got some players in the room, haven't we? Joe Rundle's down there, did his shoulder the night. Joe, 2 games in 4 days, madness? Yeah, he says. Ryan Hampshire, he's played 2 games in 4 days, madness? 2 games in 4 days, is it madness, Ryan? It's alright, he says. It's alright. He's playing. Scotty, you said they'd play every day. You play every day when you were a player. Ryan's he's happy, he's won today. He's got no issue with playing again today, but it is a big ask, isn't it?
Well, I guess it is in the same, because going back to my day, I've told the story loads of times. We played 3 games in 3 days. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and I guess the ice baths recover nowadays. It was a gala, wasn't it? But I decided I believe in the players themselves. Would they rather train or would they rather play? For mine, I would say they would rather play, to be honest with you. But hey, listen, it is what it is. But everybody's saying the same thing. We've got the injuries, but as I keep saying, every squad's got a squad of 25 players or so. So the opportunity what these players are given, they're taking that opportunity. And Chris Chester said after today's game, the lads who are playing well, if they play well, they keep the jersey. That's all a coach wants. A coach wants competition for places. And certainly they've got that here at Wakefield.
But a coach doesn't want 12 of his top line players not available to select every week as well, and it has changed. It was predominantly a part-time sport when we had 3 games over Christmas, 3 games over Easter. It's a full-time sport now, and we have to adjust to that.
Yeah, but Phil, to be honest with you, that's got nothing to do with the Easter programme. They're all injured before Easter. Yeah. So what does that make? What does that make than Easter weekend?
The whole season is too long. That's it. And also, we had a day yesterday, Easter Sunday, beautiful weather, and no Rugby League. If we'd have had a weekend whereby we'd have had a big game Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday and into Monday, then I think you sell the sport. We can't now play Thursday and Friday next week because we've had the 2 games over Easter. You see what they've done in the NRL. 1 game over the Easter period for each club, sell it as a major event. Sport benefits.
Well, let's ask the fans. There's a lot of fans in here. Fans, 2 games over Easter or 1? 2? Big cheer. 2. He wants 3. He's Scully's mate. He wants 3 games. Well, look, the fans have spoken. They like it. Let's talk about the game today then, Gary. I've not been here, so I need to know what's happened. I've been following on social media. I've seen Wakefield have won narrowly the scoreline in the end, but how did the game go from your opinion?
Yeah, again, you look at the first half. I think Leeds were capturing the Wakefield 22 for many times, but again, with execution what we're for. Wakefield didn't get into Leeds. It's 22. All half, but they scored 2 tremendous long-distance tries. An interception in, and say the lad, the young kid, Kershaw scored a long-distance try, but they took the opportunities that Leeds didn't, but it was 12 apiece at half-time, and Leeds hung in there, but again, Wakefield in that second half, showing the spirit what they've got, playing pretty smart, took the penalties, what Leeds give away for the indiscipline, took the two penalties, and took the opportunity well. Leeds finished pretty strong at the end, but at the end of the day, gave themselves too much to do. And what I would say about Leeds' performance today, the issue is it's not the inexperienced players who are letting Leeds down. I think now it's the senior players.
Look, Gary Neville came out the other night and absolutely laid into Manchester United. I don't expect you to lay into him, but come on, name names. Who do you feel today let Leeds down?
Well, all the senior players, as I've said about Wellington Albert, he's not good enough. Petru, I don't think for me. Yeah, I know he's gone off, but he's still not good enough. Anyway, yeah, he's not good enough anyway. Lola here threw more passes into Rosette. I think he threw.
That's not true because there's not Zeb Rowe in that stand.
Well, he must have finished at Morris is down opposite then if he threw the passes there from there. And Miller's just come back from Australia, so he looked pretty knackered, to be honest with you, at times. But overall, the senior players, they were the players who let Leeds down today.
Are Leeds a one-man team? Because Conrad Hurrell, every time I've seen Leeds this season, has been the main man. Whether Leeds have won, lost or draw, he has been their best player by a mile.
Well, do you know what? Wakefield was smart today because they went down Harry Newman's side from there, so Hurrell might have been there, and defensively, he got found out. But that'll be a learning curve for him. But Hurrell had been there defending on the edges. It may not have been so easy for Wakefield. But listen, that was smart play for Wakefield. They knew exactly what they'd done, inexperienced, found him out defensively. Wakefield deserved the win.
Rich, you never tire of Wakefield beating Leeds, I'm sure.
Well, as I say on social media, people think that Castleford are the big rivalry, but we all hate Leeds. This is why Leeds in crisis is funny. Leeds is this big city, which is taking over Wakefield bit by bit. Our history, our heritage, our culture and everything. Stealing things. Like Henry Ball is stealing from Castleford, he's in Leeds now. The Rhubarb Triangle, that's Leeds. That's Wakefield. And now we've beaten them again at rugby for the second time this season. I'm expecting we battered them at Henry, and that was hilarious. And what's the point of split today? It's a face of the people. As we stand for Parliament. Steve, what's going on here? The fact of the matter is this, and it's the same as the games winning 2 weeks ago here. Wakefield never looked in any real doubt of losing the game. I know Leeds came back towards the end and scored a couple of tries, but Leeds never really looked like beating Wakefield today, and Wigan didn't a couple of weeks ago. Leeds and Wigan have lost their aura. they used to be a team to be scared of. I was a ball boy down there, I mentioned it before, and when you were ball boy against Leeds, you thought, oh, Dougie Lawton's Leeds were in for a bit of trouble, they never beat them, it was great, Nigel, I dropped over the sideline. But used to fear Leeds, used to fear Wigan, and they don't have that fear anymore, and they're just another team. Although he's still special to me because, of course, they are Leeds.
Richard is a long-suffering, as I said, like some of you guys are in this room. He really doesn't like Leeds. Leeds in crisis. We do enjoy it. He wants the microphone back. Go on. You're angry, aren't you? You're angry, but you're happy.
Yeah, the reason is people think I was joking when I said I've been banned from Henry. I've not been banned from Henry. People didn't believe that, but I've not been banned.
You've not yet.
I just need to clear that up, just in case.
Hold on as well. I think you're the same. You don't like Leeds at all. Why are you wearing the t-shirt?
I can't stand Leeds. I dislike Leeds Rhinos with a passion. I am delighted that Wakefield won today. Anyone but Leeds Rhinos. Come on.
I think the important thing for Wakefield today was winning a narrow game, because they've lost 3 or 4 recently where they've either started too slowly or they've come back too late, and I think to hold on and win by 2 points today is really, but that is a turning point I think for them today.
Richard, you need to sort the camera out for the old Facebook, but
Facebook, I can't do anything about Facebook. So the main thing is that no one got injured as well.
Okay.
I had week after week of everyone going down injured. Now they've got a squad which is going to be pretty much the same going into the whole game on Sunday.
What's the feeling in the room for the Wakey fans that are here then? Because from our point of view, Gary, I think I certainly said at the start of the season, a lot of Wakefield would be in the top 5. What we'll get the feeling in the room in a minute, but we are, what are we, 11, 12 games into the season now. Well, we're in the midst of it. What do you make of Wakefield's chances?
Well, Mark, to be honest with you, the Wakefield fans will be delighted because 12 games into the season, you know, is it 4th or 3rd in the league? The 4th in the league, and they've got 3rd. All right, make your minds up. But the fact of the matter is, they've got 12 players on the sideline, and the main man who's on the sideline as well, Danny Bruff, who they brought in as a final piece of the jigsaw to get into the top 5. So 12 games into the season, Wakefield are 4th, major players still to come back, certainly when the business end of the season comes. Boy oh boy, the Wakefield fans will be absolutely delighted with it.
Yeah, is that the feeling in the room? Wakey going to make the playoffs this year? Who's going to make the playoffs, Wakey or Leeds?
So just remind me after which game it was you texted me that said Wakefield can't make the top 5.
I might have been after round 1.
When they lost at London. Rich, Wakey going to make the playoffs?
Well, I said at the start of the season, there's a lot of teams who are not showing much, aren't they? The great thing about Wakefield right now is those points are on the ball. It's up to the other teams to catch them now. And I think we've seen with Hull's result today, they've been absolutely spanked by St Helens. But there'll be a different Hull side on Sunday at home. But Wakefield went there a couple of weeks ago and won. That's the problem with the Super League this year. That's why we get lots of stick about the predictions. Who would have thought Salford would have beaten Warrington? Apparently all the Salford fans who sent us abuse on social media, none of them thought they would have, of course, lost to Warrington. But you can't predict anything these days, as we're trying to...
Other than St Helens, you can obviously predict St Helens, who not only have spanked Wigan on Good Friday, but went 10 points down early on today and absolutely did the same to Hull. So Saints are on their own at the moment, but good teams can back up. Average teams can't, and I think we've seen even Salford, who you quite rightly mentioned, had the result of Good Friday, superb victory at Warrington. They couldn't hold off Wigan today, and again, apparently a couple of self-inflicted errors at the end of the game meant that they didn't go through with it. But to be a consistent team, you have to be able to back up, and that's why I think this is an important win for Wakefield today, because they could have quite easily come away with another 2-point loss, but they haven't. And Hull. I think Hull rested 4 or 5 today, which again you just can't do at this level. It'd be a really important test for Wakefield at Hull next Sunday.
Yeah, also as well, as I said on the show last week, didn't I? You know, it's all about consistency, and I think what we'll all decide, and I think we'll all agree on this, is that Saints and Warrington will finish 1 and 2, and then who's going to finish 3rd, 4th, and 5th with the inconsistency of a little bit of Wakefield, Cass, Hull. Catalans at times, Salford at times. You can't predict who's going to finish 3rd, 4th and 5th because of the inconsistency.
Yeah, interesting one.
Hull have lost twice by 60 points and they're still on the verge of the top 5.
What does that say to us? I mean, Wakey go to Hull next week. What does it say to us about Hull that they've conceded 60 points again? And it's all right saying they've rested 3 or 4. They had a good team out, a really good team out today. Most of their big names were playing, and they've conceded 60 points, Gary. That is not good enough, is it?
And also, it's not good enough. And also, as well, they went 10-0 in front as well. But I think what we're going to do, we've got to credit St Helens, because I was at the game on Friday against St Helens, and what I'm liking about Saints is they're playing simple, basic rugby league. And when I say that, the forwards are going hard and straight and direct with a purpose. With a purpose, then forwards. And then what St Helens are doing, they're playing the numbers game. They're not playing behind, going block. The forwards are making the hard yards, simple rugby league. The halfbacks are creating, playing the numbers game. They've got the speed in the back line, the 3/4 and wingers. Lachlan Coote coming at fullback. He's playing like an extra standoff. They have got a very, very well balanced side. St Helens can rip anybody apart, but as you've mentioned, Hull simply not good enough. And I'd like to know now, I'd like to see if there's many Hull fans on Twitter, having a bit of a pop at me. Because I might have a pop at them by conceding another 60 points.
Yeah, well, it's not the first time. Lee Radford out of contract end of the season, Scott. Do you think he would be worried about his future?
I can't see him, mate, to be honest with you. I think the relationship, I think it's the same as the relationship here, what Chris Chester has with Michael Carter. Radford has got the same with Adam Pearson. So I don't think his job is under pressure any way, to be honest with you, because if you look at the way Hull finished last season, the first 3 or 4 games this year wasn't very, very good. Stuck by him. Now, I can't see Rand's been under pressure, to be honest.
Okay. Big game next week, Rich. Are you expecting that Wakefield will go and pick up more points?
Well, I hope they would, but it's going to be tough. As you say, it's such an unpredictable league this season. I won't be taking Wakefield. I took them today by 1, so I was almost there. It'll be interesting game. Hull, you expect a reaction, but as we said before the Easter period, that was the game they had to win on Friday, and they actually battered Hull KR. You need to talk about Hull KR because they're in a lot of trouble, because they're not just losing, but they're losing by plenty. I know they're playing against 2 good opposition this weekend. Well, I say good opposition, Hull are kind of here, there and everywhere, aren't they? But they're battered by Hull, battered by Warrington. At least the thing we can say about London, and we go back to last year when Hull were getting battered. At least when they're showing some spirit in their defeats, what's going on with Hull KR? They're in a lot of trouble now.
2 heavy defeats over the weekend, Phil, for Hull Kingston Rovers. Got gubbed by Hull, they got gubbed again today at home by Warrington. They've picked up a couple of key injuries, I understand it. And, Tim Sheen's another coach that's maybe under a little bit of pressure. What's your thoughts on Hull KR's weekend and season so far? I mean, everyone's looking at London as a relegation favourites, but Hull KR have got to be involved now.
Yeah, I think so. The manner of those defeats will be a real worry. I think Mitch Garbutt's now going under the knife. He's going to be missing for 3 or 4 weeks. Pulled out in the warm-up today. Tommy Lee, I think, is another one who's facing a lengthy layoff with injury. They're running out of bodies because they made the decision to go with a lesser number in their squad and recruit. And we're back to what we talked about at the beginning of the show, that every club is suffering too many injuries at the moment. But if you've got a relatively thin squad, it really shows through. I think there are obviously some issues with budget. I think at Hull KR we know that one of their major directors, who was a financial investor in the club, is no longer there at the moment. That's going to take some adjustment for those people that are still there. I think they are quite worrying times. You look at the manner in which teams get defeated and then you start to worry about it. Of course, the big game next Sunday is Leeds and Hull KR, 2 teams who obviously desperate to put some kind of a winning run and a deal of consistency together. Hull KR produced a great performance to beat Leeds at home, but coming off 2 50-point defeats, this is a big week for them. They may be even tempted to do something in this week.
What do you make of them, Scott? I think they're in trouble, aren't they? Rovers have got some very good players, but as Phil said, if you take the injuries we've seen here for Wakefield, you give those injuries to Hull KR, they won't be winning games consistently in the top 5.
Exactly, and as I say, it is winning times, and certainly the way, in the manner, when you saw the derby on Friday, it just, at times they just give in, didn't they? And as I say, I would have expected a bit of reaction as well from Hull KR against Warrington after what happened to Warrington, but there seems nothing from there, so he's got a lot of hard work to do there as Tim Sheens, and I think Hull KR, to be honest with you, they've got too many journeymen, and quite simply on a week-to-week basis they're not good enough. So people keep saying to me, it's a good job London in the league because it could either be Leeds or Wigan or maybe going down, but one thing for sure, I don't think it'll be Leeds. Leeds won't make the 5, Wigan won't make the 5, Hull Kingston Rovers, they're in the mire, they're in the battle with London, who's going to finish bottom.
Would you agree with that, Richard?
Well,
It's funny, isn't it, because we've all changed our mind now. Because at the start of the season, we're looking at Leeds' squad, looking at holding our squad, and saying, oh, Mitch Garbutt, Jimmy Kainos, Danny Maguire, they've all left Leeds, what are Leeds doing? And now people are starting to say, well, maybe Gary Hetherington's might get a little. It's interesting times, isn't it? And Leeds Rhinos, according to the paper today, whether you believe everything or not, but Trent Maxwell's not supposed to be able to go into the paper, that's why, in real life, it's out there. £500,000. This is David Furner's war chest, right? This is what we've called it now. Also Kevin Tinfield's war chest, as we call it. £500,000 apparently they paid for Jake Connor. I think it's what I was told, I was thinking, that's a lot of money for a player, regardless of whether Jake Connor's good or not, obviously he is good. £500,000. Who's the next target then? Who were they looking to replace with that £500,000 for Jake Connor? I don't want to turn this into a Leeds crisis special, by the way.
No, that's a good question. Half a million quid for Jake Connor. That's I mean, look, £500,000 for anyone's a lot of money, isn't it? Is he the cure to Leeds' problems?
Well, obviously Jake.
I'd have thought it'd have been better buying a new pack of forwards.
Yeah. And say your halfbacks can't do anything without the forwards taking the lead from there. But I'm not so sure the bid would have been £500,000. I'm sure if it'd been £500,000, it would have been sold because it's a hell of a lot of money from there. Rugby League terms, that is absolutely huge. So, as good as what player Connor is, if that sort of offer comes in, I'm sure Hull would sell him.
I think the important thing from a Leeds point of view with that is that's exactly the players that Leeds should be linked with. It's all very well having Bo Falloon on your playing register, but Jake Connor's the sort of player that Leeds should be being linked with. I don't think there was any truth in that bit at all. I think there was with Sean O'Loughlin at the start of the season. They were prepared to give him big money. I think it just shows that Leeds are back in the market for the right calibre of player, which endorses some of the things you've been saying, that the recruitment hasn't been right up to now. But how do you replace the irreplaceable? Well, you go out and make a bid for somebody like Jake Connor, who clearly at the moment is one of the best players in the British game.
So it's pretty obvious as well that we are looking for a quality halfback, aren't we?
Well, I think they're looking for quality players, and if they think that a quality player is available at a club, if they think a club will accept an amount of money, they're going to bid for it.
Interesting. What money? Would he be? He couldn't have been a marquee player, so it'd be interesting how they would have fit, how they would get him in. I don't know.
Somebody would have to go. Clearly, somebody would have to go. So there's a reshaping going on. But I just think that's the kind of player, the quality of player that a club like Leeds should be linked with if they're to be taken seriously.
I guess the question that needs to be asked as well is, would Jake Connor be interested in coming to Leeds?
For £500,000 reasons, I think he probably would.
No, but also too, if he's not becoming a marquee player, and also too, if you're being sold for £500,000, you'd want to be one of the top earners. Would he become one of the top earners at Leeds?
Yeah, I think he probably would.
Interesting. Jake Connor, whether there's truth in it or not. That lad's happy, he wants them to sign Jake Connor.
We're going to just make things up now and just say, come up with a list of players who are coming out of the contracts and perhaps worth lots of money, half-backs, and say, I don't know, Salford or something, and say, would Leeds like a Jackson Hayes?
Well, does the price go up because it's Leeds? Because Leeds have gone out and spent big money on Hurrell, who in fairness has been a really good signing. They're obviously spending a lot of money on Trent Merrin.
It's been a good sign.
Been a good signing, Phil says. What do the Leeds fans think about Merrin? Is he doing all right? Is he a work in progress? Are you happy? Not happy? There's a few faces being pulled over there, so they're overly happy.
£500,000 sounds like too much money, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, but it's only too much money if you haven't got it. If you've got it, it's not too much money, is it?
I thought Leeds didn't have that much money around. They just bought loads of big stands and stuff. Maybe it's money the same like getting rid of a rugby union club.
Maybe.
The whole of Yorkshire.
But the problem is, if Leeds come begging and you're a club in England and you know they've bid £500,000 for Jake Connor, you're not going to sell your star asset, are you?
Who's out there who clubs will be willing to sell? Again, £500,000 a lot of money. They could have probably bought that 3 games from Peters.
Also as well, when you read the piece in League Express from Alan Pearson, he's looking to go to Australia next year to sign 5 or 6 Australians. So that £500,000 will come in very, very handy for one English player. He's looking to make marquee signings. They're looking to trim the squad from there. So I'd watch this space, mate. I would watch this space.
You think it might happen?
I think it might happen. There's no two ways.
At the end of the season?
Well, to be honest with you, after this result today, if Leeds have any aspirations whatsoever, first of all, of getting to Wembley, and if they look at any aspirations of making the top 5, if we are going to move, we've got to move very, very quickly, because I can reassure you, being a Leeds fan now, and also to be the next Leeds player, I know what the Leeds fans want. Leeds fans want quality. and Jake Connor will bring that quality for us.
You can't move that quickly, unfortunately, in a salary cap sport, unless you've got players that you can get off your salary cap very quickly that other clubs want and are prepared to buy. Then it's more of a longer term thing.
Well, I think, to be honest with you, Phil, I think what Leeds have got decided, if other clubs don't want them, we've got to pay them off. Simple as that.
Still would count in the salary cap, that payment. But there's clearly a restructuring going on. If you talk about a club that needs to sign Jake Connor, and we haven't spoken about them yet, I'd say that would be Wigan. Looks like they're going to lose George Williams to the NRL. Clearly they've lost 3 or 4 big name players who we've all seen this weekend have been absolutely magnificent again for Canberra. If ever a club needs to dip in their pocket to go and sign a player like Jake Connor, it would be Wigan. The question now is, we know from the last time we broadcast, Sean Edwards definitely isn't coming. Rumours that Tony Smith might be the man that they could be thinking of approaching now. Surely Wigan are the team that need to decide what their squad needs to look like next year and need to put their hands in their pockets big.
Yeah, but surely we need a player like Jake Connor, don't we?
Every club does. Every club does. I think he's the next player that is likely to be snapped up by the NRL if we're not careful. And the one thing I do like about any club, be it Leeds or Wigan or anybody else, bidding £500,000 to keep that money within the Super League, I think that's important. That's the start of the Rob Elston era, saying we need to keep our best players here to draw crowds in, and no doubt we'll talk about the crowds that turn up on Thursday and Friday and how that was a record, and maybe how we can enhance that. But if we're serious about building bigger crowds around stars of the game, we need to keep those stars here. So even if that's, Castleford bidding £500,000 for Jake Connor, I'm not bothered. That means there's money in the sport.
See, people don't realise at times Leeds crisis is actually a bit of a joke. We beat it, but we don't really. But Leeds.
Hold on. Here we do.
I'm still buying the T-shirts are tenner, by the way. No, let's see that afterwards. But he makes the money out of this operation. No one else is making any money out of Rugby League. But when we say Leeds crisis, they do on their own stadium, don't
they? They do, very nicely.
And they've got a decent-ish squad, haven't they? It's okay. They've got a coach who, he's been dealt with the hand he's been dealt. But generally in crisis are Wigan, because they signed a coach, they ain't coming. Sean Edwards isn't coming. They've got Adrian Lando's now. What is he? Is the interim coach, does he want to stay? I don't want to stay.
Our Wakefield fans worried that Chris Chester might become the next Wigan coach because he's in the betting. They're not bothered. He's not going.
It's like Stephen sent me a message. Rugby needs to promote more English coaches like Chris Chester, but in saying that, Steve, you wanted to go to Wigan or something? You don't want that. Maybe Mr. Castle needs to sign him an extra big Super Duper contract.
Well, he may. I'm sure that'll happen. But who is going to get the gig at Wigan? Wigan are in trouble. I mean, they've scraped a win today at Salford, scored in the last minute. They've beaten Salford twice in the last month. Other than that, they're not beating anyone at the minute. They are struggling. You look at that team. They've picked up some key injuries, Gary, but it does look like they're going to lose Williams.
Yeah, listen,
Loughlin's coming, as great as he is coming at the end. They're struggling.
Hey, listen, they're in a mess. They're in an absolute mess at Wigan. Wigan are a selling club. And I was speaking to one of it was the ex-chairman on Friday. I was speaking to the great Mr. Maurice Lindsay. I had 5 minutes to Maurice Lindsay, believe it or not. And
did you ask him about that money you never got when they went to Sky?
Well, I was just about to mention it to Sky. I've got to go anyway. But when I said to Maurice, Wigan, from a point of view, you're not selling clubs to your best players. I know we're not scoring. I can't believe what's happening to this great club, but it's quite simple. The players want to play for Wigan anymore. Do the big name players want to go to Wigan? I'm not hearing too many coaches are putting their hand up. The speculation about Tony Smith going to Wigan, not a chance. Tony Smith has fallen out of love with the game of Rugby League. Tony Smith is more than happy doing what he's doing with the football coaches, with the association from there. So the big question for Wigan is 2 questions. What are they going to do about keeping the players, because all the players want to leave? And secondly, what are they going to do about a coach, because nobody wants to coach Wigan. It's as simple as that.
Do you think, Phil, with hindsight, all this Sean Wayne thing, all this Sean Wayne project, it's blown up big time now, isn't it? And they've got a problem now because they've got a job that, let's say, no one wants. Adrian Lamb might want it, Adrian Lamb might not want it. He's got to relocate his family. He's come here for a year and a year only. We said for months on 4020 Live, Edwards was never, in our opinion, was never going to take that gig. He never really wanted it. And now, with the results on the field, where are they going? I don't know where they go from here.
It's partly a poison chalice because the long-term prognosis is not great. Their star names that they've got left are due to either retire or move to the NRL. There are a lot of kids coming through, but that will take time to bed them all in. They seem not to be being linked with any big name signings. I would worry that a coach's reputation might be tarnished going to Wigan just at this time. It's almost like the person that has to take over from Sir Alex Ferguson or Don Revie, or that era's come to an end, and you don't want to be the guy that's picking up the mantle for that. I think Adrian Lamb's found it a lot more difficult than he thought it would be. I think Sean Edwards has looked at it and re-evaluated the fact that he needs people around him that perhaps he wouldn't be able to be brought on board. I think Wigan themselves have miscalculated the hole that Sean Wayne being there would leave. And it was never quite satisfactory that you were getting somebody in for a holding year before the guy you really wanted. That's spectacularly backfired, and it doesn't matter whose fault it is. As a management of a business, that's been allowed to happen. So I don't know who a young aspiring coach would take that to put on their CV. I coach Wigan. So you're James Ford at York, you take that job. But I'm not sure who Wigan need at the moment. I think they probably do need a Tony Smith, possibly as a director of rugby, whatever that actual role means. Maybe with an Adrian Lamb under him, and just come in and say, look, we need to reset this club and put it on a path for the next 3 or 4 years. The one thing Tony Smith did was he did that at Huddersfield, he did that at Leeds, he did that at Warrington. Possibly stayed a little bit too long at Warrington, but his tenures at Huddersfield and Leeds were relatively short, but he changed those clubs around and then moved on. So maybe now they think that he can bring them something, but they have to move quickly. They really need to decide what they're going to do in 2020, and even if it is going to be Adrian Lamb, appoint him sooner rather than later.
Okay, fair enough. Castleford are, they've just scored, I think, but they're on the wrong end of the score. How long's left? Can someone tell us? How long's left? All right, mate, no worries. Well, they have just scored straight from the kick-off, but...
See, when people can hear applause in the background watching at home, it's not because we've made a good point. It's not like question time. It's because Castleford have conceded.
No, well, they've just actually scored, so that's why it's gone quiet. Yeah, that's why it's gone quiet. Is there any sympathy for Wigan in the room about their predicament at the minute?
No! We should say hello to Castle, by the way. He's come all the way from Switzerland just to watch the show. He's not come for a whole weekend, he's just come to watch the show.
Yes, good evening, Carsten, one of our long-time listeners. We've got your gift, actually, Carsten. We've got your Leeds in Crisis t-shirt. So we've got you one here. You can have this one. But you've got to wear it every time you're out and about in public now, because Leeds are in crisis.
In Switzerland.
In Switzerland, yeah. So there you go. The legend will give you that. Your Leeds in Crisis t-shirt.
I exchanged 4 tissues for legend.
Oh, there you go. Give you some tissues to cry. There you go. What a guy. What a guy. I always knew he was a good fella.
By the way, why are you wearing a North Queensland shirt? Why are you not wearing a West Tigers shirt? Balmain Tigers.
Did you see him today? Did you watch West?
Why are you not wearing a West Tigers shirt?
West are still playing and haven't scored yet, and that was this morning.
It's like watching Leeds.
Sean Wayne, would you be happy to get him back in Rugby League? Sean Wayne? I think he's a decisive thing. People don't like him, but they actually respect him. I think now he's not in the game. I think that's a fair point.
Well, we've had Derek, our friend in Afghanistan.
All right. He don't want a free t-shirt as well, does he?
It takes all the people watching at home. I know the quality's not as good, but see this. We've got a budget to Lee Bradford to Wigan, Sean Wayne to Hull.
17 minutes left.
I don't know.
17 minutes left.
I don't know when it's coming from this week. We've had it. We hope to be honest with you. Saying it was going to happen.
Well, he's out of contract and they haven't given him a new one. That might be why there's speculation about it. He's what, 6 months left? Time ticking by?
I'll be very, very surprised if that happens, to be honest with you. And I've said to you about the Wigan situation. They have got to hold their hands up. They made a massive, massive mistake by letting Mr. Wayne go, and they've got to knock on his door. Sean, can we have a word, please? We want you to come back. Simple as that. They don't need to get anybody else. They don't need to reinvent the club. Sean Wayne knows Wigan inside out, what they have to do, hold their hands up, made a massive mistake, and ask him to come back.
What if he doesn't want to come back?
Well, where do they go? Exactly. Where do they go?
Because again, you look at the players that are the Sean Wayne players that he would want to build his club around. None of them are there anymore. Why would he want to come back?
Well, he would. Well, I guess he would only come back on his terms, and if it's not on his terms, then he won't come back then, would he? But
Sean Edwards wanted to come back on his terms and didn't come back.
Well, I think, to be honest with you, Sean has realised that the way that Rugby League has moved on, it's as he called it, preparation. He couldn't spend 8 weeks in Australia to follow what he wanted to do. Also, as well, he didn't get the 2 assistant coaches, quality assistant coaches, what he wanted. So at the end of the day, exactly as we said about Sean Wayne, if it's not right, come back on his terms, he won't come back. But he's been sadly missed, not just by Wigan, but he's been sadly missed by the game of Rugby League in general.
Agreed.
Well then, as pointed out here by Simon, he said he did have Sean Wayne at Leeds to help with the defence, isn't he only part-time with the Scottish Rugby Union? Sean Wayne at Leeds? For the Leeds fans like that?
Well, you mentioned that story when he left Wigan, that he maybe Leeds should have got him, but I don't think that'd be a popular appointment, would it, at Leeds?
Well, hey, listen.
He's a winner though, isn't he? He's a whether you like him or not, he's a winner.
He builds this so-called word, he builds a culture. It builds a winning culture now, and I'm sure the players, well, if they didn't fall into line, then they'd be off, wouldn't they? You know what I mean? So, hey, listen, it wouldn't worry me if Sean Wayne come to Leeds. Not one little bit. Wouldn't worry me one little bit. I'd be delighted to see it.
Where does... Can we go back to Leeds? And I know the listeners at home, they don't like us talking about Leeds. We're going to talk about them. Dave Furner, where is he in the Leeds jigsaw at the moment? Because Leeds are clearly now, they've changed policy. They're spending big money that they've never done before. They're spending big money on players. But it's going to take them a while, I think, to turn this squad around as they would want. Maybe they can't, as Phil said, spend the money they want to spend now to get the players in they want to get. So where does Dave Furner sit in this? Is he going to be given 3 or 4 years to build the team? Or does he need success now?
Listen, the position what Leeds are in, it certainly won't be given 3 years, I can reassure you. So, but the situation is for Davies, and the hierarchy realise that, you know, in Kevin and Gary Herrington, is quite simple. Yet they've used this word, we're in transition. We're 12 games into the season. We're joint bottom of the league, or second bottom in the league. So no, it's not looking a pretty picture for ourselves in the league position. But Furner will be given time. But won't be for sure he won't be given 3 seasons. No way, mate. If Leeds, say for instance, let's just say we finish third bottom, we get to the quarter-final of the Challenge Cup, that will be a very, very disappointing season. I would imagine if Leeds are in this position next season, after 12 games, then I would say the pressure will be on David Furner.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything immediate on the horizon to change anything, and I think you have to have some degree of consistency. And it goes back to what we were saying about a potential poison chalice. When you take over from the coach that's been the most successful at the club, in fact in Super League in the summer era, then and anything you want to change, there is a period of adjustment. It's not even sometimes to do with the players that you've got, it's just you're trying to change a culture. You have to give it a little bit of time, and they would have hoped obviously that it had gone far smoother than it has at the moment, but I don't think you get anything by changing the coach at this stage. You know, if you're trying to rebuild something, all you're then doing is going back to square one.
Yeah, I'm not saying get rid of him now. I mean, longer term, because pressure is on. Leeds are expected to win. Wigan are expected to win. But Adrian Lamb at the end of the day can go, well, I'm here for a year, so I can go. He's not going to, in effect, get sacked. He's going to walk away from the job. Yeah. Leeds is a little bit different, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it is. And also as well, at this moment in time, I'm not hearing the Leeds fans who I speak to, I'm not hearing any Leeds fans saying it's Furner's fault, Furner needs to be sacked. They're understanding at this moment in time, but if they finish third or fourth bottom, or even 7th or 8th, and then they say don't get anywhere near the Challenge Cup, I think the Leeds fans, as the way that I know them, they might say, right, okay, we've given him that season, we've given him that first season as a honeymoon period, but if he's in the same position this time next year, I can guarantee you, the Leeds fans will be saying, see you later.
Okay, we've had a chat about Wigan. What you got to say, Rich?
I was just going to say, well, they all hated Brian McDermott anyway, didn't they? So those who wanted McDermott out are getting what they deserve right now. Speaking of Brian McDermott, he's also in the Championship today, just to pay lip service. Toulouse battled Halifax 56-4, Batley 32, Swinton 18, Bradford 26, Barrow 14. I am already bored of the Bradford versus Leeds hype, by the way.
The biggest derby on the planet.
The biggest derby on the planet, everybody. Bradford versus Leeds. Remember Bradford? Featherstone 14, Toronto 23. Of course, Toronto has got to all the Ubiquitous derby next year. Leeds 34, Dewsbury 12, Rochdale 16, Sheffield 52. York 17, Witness 10. So big result for York.
Big result for York. Another good win for James Ford. They'll be delighted with that. They're firmly in the mix for the playoffs.
Next Leeds coach, James Ford.
Could be.
Along with Danny Ward and Chris Chester. I think the Easter weekend in the Championship belongs to Sheffield. Had an absolutely massive win over Toulouse, and then again another huge win today. So watch out for Sheffield.
Well, that Championship again, you know, if you don't bring your A game, you're going to get turned over, you know, and that's the competitiveness of that division. It's the same in League One. If you don't bring your A game week in and week out, it's that consistency basis. And I'm afraid to say you're going to get turned over. It's great to see. Great to see.
Cass have scored again.
It is indeed. Castleford have scored. Is the comeback on, lads? Lads watching the telly. Is the comeback on for Cass? Are they going to win?
We hope not.
We hope not. All right. Okay. Fair enough.
Oh, listen, lads, come on. You can't let the French. You can't be supporting the French. Surely. Surely.
No.
Do me a favour. May that your last. Do me a favour.
Right, okay. I want to talk about Warrington. Warrington, who got absolutely stuffed at Saints, and they did get stuffed. They lost. They got beat by Salford, and not beat, they got thrashed by Salford.
Yeah.
Well, they probably couldn't have picked a better game today. They've got Old Chaos going, they've put 50 on them. It's not been a great week or two, has it, for Steve Price and Warrington?
It hasn't, and when you saw the St Helens game, we were all looking forward to the battle of the forwards, weren't we? And, you know, I said the Warrington forwards, it was a soft performance from the Warrington forwards. When you saw the Salford game, it was even softer performance. The Warrington players thought they were playing touch and pass. They touched the Salford players, but they didn't stop. They were going over the whitewash, they were going over the 4 pointers. And so that is very, very, I would say, a massive worry for Steve Price when it does come to the big games. And if I'm honest with you, I felt Ulkiar and Tim Sheen got a reaction today, and I tipped Ulkiar to beat Warrington by 7, to be honest with you. But obviously Warrington, they've answered them critics, they've sorted out maybe the defence and the attack. But the worrying aspect for Warrington is simple. When the questions are being asked about the forward pack, they're being found out.
Interesting that, you know, all right, they've won today by 50, but I almost feel that's not the result that we all expected they would win quite easily there, Rich. Where do they go from here? They're still obviously firmly leading the charge behind St Helens, but is it going to be their year?
Well, it's not, is it? See, I felt reflect. 2 weeks ago, when they were heading up to that game against St Helens, I was like, pointing to the best team I've seen. They're going to beat St Helens, they're going to win the Super League, and now they've lost to St Helens, and it's all a bit, actually I might be wrong, all along. They just need to turn things around at some point. You know, they'll have another opportunity this week to do so, but they're beating the whole KR. Well, they expected to beat the whole KR, they're beating it by plenty. How do you go into that game and lose to Salford, who were on that long losing streak? I know Salford obviously had something to prove. I'm sure they played really well, I haven't seen the highlights, but that's an awful result to come back from.
I think it's all about raising for the really big games, and we talked quite a bit before Warrington played St Helens about who might win it and what the incentive was for each of those teams to win it and who could go to that extra level when they were really tested for the first time this season. And Saints were absolutely clinical, and then even going into a derby on Good Friday, you know, the form goes out the window line. It's true, we've seen plenty of derbies where teams who have got lesser players, which Catalan have just wrapped up the game against Castleford, much to the enjoyment of the Wakefield fans in the room. I think that's 31-16 now to Catalan. You know, that Wigan at Wigan with nothing to lose, a potential stumbling block for St Helens, but the second half they were just so dominant. And then again, that second game at Easter, Hull coming off a big derby win, they're going to St Helens with nothing. You know, Saints go 10 down early and then stick on 60. I think you look at what Saints have achieved over the last 3 games, and that's a team that's on a real upward curve. You look at Warrington, first real test they had at Saints, they failed it. The backlash of that was they couldn't back up against Salford on the Monday. So yeah, they're back on the horse against the team you would have expected them to beat today, and they've done it in a very convincing manner. But I think, you know, the cup tie against Wigan is Warrington's next big game. They need to really start putting down some markers if we're going to take them seriously.
We're going to drag up Michael Carson, and he doesn't know we'll just say it on the podcast, so he can have it now. But I'm just showing, what is it about the south of France? And male rugby league players doing daft things. Everyone sent us this video. You remember Aaron Murphy when he died, and you nearly got banned from Huddersfield?
Yeah.
And that was a real banning, not like me pretending to be banned from Huddersfield. And I got banned from Heels. Michael Shenton, who we all like.
Yeah.
That's great, he's on the radio and stuff. I'm sure it's going to.
They don't all like him here.
No. Oh, they don't like him. Michael Shenton gets the ball at dummy half and throws it at Catalan players who just, I don't know who's the number 24, he's just minding his own business, gets the penalty. He's cheating, isn't it, Scott?
Yeah, dead set.
He's loving this video.
Oh, dead set cheating. Yeah, he should know. Michael Shenton should know better. He should know better. Dead set cheating. But also, just going back to Warrington, the UKR game. After the performances on Good Friday, both coaches expected a response. There's only one coach got a response. That's Steve Price. He'll be pretty happy. He'll be pretty happy that he's got the 2 points. But certainly, he'll be thinking the performance against Salford, soft. The performance against St Helens, because they are far above, better than any side at this moment in time, wasn't good enough.
And at Catalan when they lost.
Yeah, Catalans as well. But Catalans, I guess, well, they beat St Helens as well, to be honest with you, from there. But yeah, coaches wanted a response. Price got it, Tim Sheens did it.
Interesting, very interesting. I think Warrington will still be there. I think Saints are playing great at the minute, but you don't win anything now. We've seen this before in the last few years. Saints did it last year, Cass did it the year before. It doesn't mean you're going to win the grand final.
Oh, that's likely to be Warrington take grand final, is it? Let's wait till we get those goals, just to play to the audience. It's going to see current players, actually, current Super League players calling out Michael Shenton as well on Twitter. So.
Well, exactly. They need to police it. They need to police
call out
it.
referees, so it's nice that this is changing. And again, it's not a knock on Michael Shenton, but stop being idiots. Stop making referees give decisions they have to give because you're bending the rules, gamesmanship, cheating as well.
They like you, don't they? They like you, Richard.
They didn't used to do.
Yeah? No, they don't used to. No, well, never mind. Never mind. We'll get MC up, Paul. Let's have MC up, Michael Carter. The King of Wakefield, if you please. Can you all be upstanding? Even you miserable Leeds fans.
He'll be smiling, will Mr. Carter?
He will be smiling. He will be. He'll be smiling even more if you'd have bought a pint over the bar, but that's about as likely as Leeds winning here.
That's a bit harsh, Mr. Wilson. That's a bit harsh.
Mr. Carter, give him the microphone. Mr. Carter, congratulations on your win. Who'd have thought it? With half a team, you can still beat Leeds.
I can't take the King of Wakefield, can I? There's only one King of Wakefield.
Well, yeah, there is. Well, he's not here, is he, the big bottom? He's not here, he's gone home. We won't tell him.
Outstanding today, mate. I thought, I looked at how many players we've got missing and looked at the squad, and there was obviously some kids that we had to throw in there as well today, and he's done fantastically well, and I hope he's on a massive high tonight because he should be. But just, really, really proud of that. I think we've said it a couple of times this year. That's the best performance since Chesney took charge, but I honestly thought tonight was, to defend that much in the first half, have 2 breakaways, go in at 12 all, still under the pump, and then sort of have a 10-minute spell where we posted some points, and then just literally hanging on again, and some big performances from Riesling. For me, gets better and better every single week. The middles were great. I talked to Phil earlier. I'm now a convert into one game at Easter because we're killing these lads. We're absolutely killing them. So we've got to sort something out there. But just really, really proud of them, mate. I think they were fantastic.
It's fair to say expectations have changed here, haven't they? Let's be fair. You were favourites to be bottom 4 years ago. You're not now.
Yeah.
People are talking you up. So therefore, was there a little bit of pressure on you to win today, given that you didn't win at Cass, a game that you looked out of for half an hour, and then when you woke up, I felt, and I said to you, I thought you should have won on Thursday night. But did you feel a bit of pressure that you had to beat Leeds today?
I didn't. Not me personally. I thought that again. I don't want to use injuries as an excuse, but I just felt that, we've got a team out there, bare 17. I mean, our 18th man was a young kid who was 17 years old. For me, it's always about having a dig. If we have a dig, I'm happy with whatever the result is. We have a dig, and I think this group have got that in spades, that they will just keep turning up week in, week out for each other. And the happiest players in that changing room at the full time when they all got in there were the ones that were injured. They're the ones that are backslapping everybody else and saying, fantastic guys, and Lee Kershaw he's just had a dream day, and from in tears at Boxing Day in a game that doesn't really matter, to being in tears of joy tonight, having just, it's stuff dreams of me. It's what we all dream of, isn't it? Going 85 metres in your first game against Leeds Rhinos. You can smile,
Don't rub it in, Mr. Carter. I think I get away with a few times, I know you are. But listen, mate, just a couple of questions. So, your one club who runs a reserve side, so the young kid who's coming from there, it feels part of Wakefield straight away, it feels he knows the players, straight into the system. surely that helps as well. Having the reserve team, the players know all about the club, know about the players, and it helps when you've got to throw them in.
It's been really tough for us this year because we have run a reserve team, but we've also tried to get players out on dual reg or on loan because we want to put them in the environment that we feel, not me, but the coaching staff feel is going to do them the most benefit. So Lee Kershaw's been at Oldham all season. I mean, they absolutely love him in there. He's had 2 or 3 man of the match performances. He scored a load of tries. And, you know, when I had to call him back on Friday, fair play to Chris Hamilton and Scott Naylor at Oldham. You know, they understood completely that we needed him back, but we're desperately sad that they'd lost him. And, you know, Oldham need to reap some benefit from that as well because they've developed that kid. So, you know, it's worked all the way around for us. We had a reserve game down here on, I think, last Wednesday against Keighley. You know, we stretched ourselves a little bit this year. I'm the first to admit we probably haven't got the numbers right for each settle, but we'll get better at it. You know, so next year when we recruit, we've got reserves in mind again. We've got people going out on different stages into the championship and loan and all that sort of thing. So it's all about trying to fit the right environment for each individual player and see them grow. And I think we've paid, you know, we've reaped the rewards of that today.
The result what you've got today, you've got 12 senior players out. You brought Bruffy in as a final piece of the jigsaw to get you into that 5. So you've got a nice draw in the Challenge Cup. If the draw goes nicely for you, surely everybody has Wembley aspirations, so you've got that. But the question that I'm asking, Michael, is with 12 games into the season, everybody's a little bit inconsistent apart from St Helens and maybe a little bit of Warrington. You get into the 5, you get all your best players back for that top 5 from there. Can you make the grand final? Can they on your day? Can you beat anybody on your day?
I'm just having an instant flashback to October the 3rd, 2015 and the £1 million game down here. So, you know, I never get carried away. I think we've got a team, a squad that on any given day can turn anybody over. I truly believe that. We have to play well. We have to work hard for each other. We don't get anywhere without hard work. And we've got to do that. I guess Catalans have scored again. But Gary, I truly believe on any given day we can go to anywhere and win a game.
I know that we've been having these conversations probably for 3 or 4 years, and your role here has just slightly changed, and economics now are even more important as the chief executive. But good news about the stadium, that there's a chance now that we'll be able to see some building here in the not too distant future. It might include even some other commercial operations that will bring even more income in. And you said right at the very beginning that's the next step to make you a sustainable top 5 club.
Yeah.
This is an exciting time now. How do you foresee this club looking in 2 years' time? If we're sitting here having this conversation, will it be partly redeveloped? Will you be able to spend the full salary cap? Will you be a top 5 team every year?
I think that last question, Phil, I think is, you know, there are still a lot of good sides out there. So again, I'm not getting carried away that Wakefield have had back-to-back top 5s, and you know we're probably 3rd at the minute in the table, and that could go drastically wrong at any time. You know, 3 defeats and they'll still be lynching me on Westgate. So don't worry about that. But 2 years' time, I'd love to see at least the East Stand redeveloped. I think that is absolutely our priority because that's the stand that can create the commercial return that we need to spend salary cap. So we've got to crack on with that, you know, and then we've got to try and generate probably £200,000 to £300,000 a year out of that facility as well, which A, will pay the debt off a little bit, but B, will let us spend up to salary cap. And other things, I've got to be honest, because I don't want to just plough it all into players. There's an infrastructure that needs improving here. You know, we've got very, very small staff. So investing in staff as well, off the field, will produce its rewards.
And I was going to ask you about that because we're talking, as you say, about whether you only have one game over Easter and how that impacts on you as a club to commercially try and sell however many home games you get, and maybe have to work a little bit harder if that's possible on selling less games. But you can only do that if you've got the infrastructure to do it. So at what point do you say this amount goes into the playing squad and we sustain always being in the playoffs for the foreseeable future, and this goes into increasing our commercial department, increasing our marketing department, whatever else you need to do to get more people through the gate?
Yeah. Ultimately, the first sort of the first bit of revenue you'd always put back to your first team because that does kind of drive everything. You know, whether we like it or not, results do matter, and they drive your business as well. So it would be a case for me that we'd get some more investment into the first team, and then we'd sit back and say, right, can the next 20 or 30 grand be spent better in marketing or commercial or anything along them lines. So it's always a fine balancing act. There's no quick fixes, there's no shortcuts, you've just got to take it a step at a time, and we all ultimately want to be Leeds Rhinos, whether the Wakefield fans like that or not. We all ultimately want to be the business that is Leeds Rhinos, because that has been the flagship for 20 years.
Okay, well, we'll leave that comment there. We don't want to talk about Leeds anymore. Michael, I want to ask you about player recruitment, because Phil and I argue about this all the time. Phil says it's difficult to go out there and get players. Not only are you getting players, you're keeping the best players. Congratulations this week. Kyle Wood re-signs, David Fafita re-signed. I think you would have got lynched if you hadn't got him over the line, but congratulations on that. That is a sign of how far you've come now, that these big players, or your bigger players, are not looking to go elsewhere. They're happy to stay here. How hard is it doing the recruitment, keeping the players? How difficult is it?
You become a victim of your own success, because 3 years ago you could sign these players, or you'd pick up a Matty Ashurst from Salford who wanted to play week in, week out, and you get value for money out of that, and then Matty has an unbelievable 2 years, gets named in the dream team, and some of these players quite rightly want to earn a bit more because they're showing that they deserve a little bit more. So you do become a victim of your own success, but I genuinely believe, and we'll talk about Big Dave, as long as we got the number right for Big Dave, he didn't want to leave. He's so happy at Wakefield. He's a mile down the road. His kids are in a good school. His family's settled. But we had to get the number right and reward him appropriately, and that's what we've had to do. But next year, having talked to Chesney, we may come down from 30 to 29 because we've just had to add a bit more quality around the edges. So again, it's back to balancing acts, and I'm lucky that I have a really good relationship with Chesney, and we talk about players together. I'll put my valuation on him. An agent once told me, you place the valuations because it's your money you're spending. So it wasn't a bad tip that. But we sit down together, we'll talk about different players, we'll talk about what they think they're worth, what we feel they're worth. If we can find some middle ground in that, we'll go ahead with the signing. But there's been a couple this week that we've sat there and said, absolutely not worth that money. So we've walked away. And you've just got to... It is really difficult, and there's a limited market for players out there. I think what you're finding, and you see this at every club, is clubs are trying really, really hard to retain the players they've got, because they know that there's not many out there that they can attract into the club, and that's certainly where we're at. And we're only looking to change probably 3 or 4 again this year.
I think as well, you mentioned as well there, Michael, the relationship we have with Chris Chester, but also to what I see at this club is it's not just a relationship you have with Chris. It's what the players have with Chris, also to yourself as well. So for me, what I find very important is that the players, they're coming to work with a smile on their face. They're coming here with a smile on their face and want to go to work. Yeah. They want to go to work with that smile on their face on there because of the trust and the relationship. Because it starts at the top, and if they have that at the top from there, the players love coming here. And I guess because you know your figures, you're an accountant, so you know exactly going from there. What I've seen here with the Wakefield players, they're not here just to pick up the money, they're here because of the enjoyment as well.
They could get, absolutely, a lot of them could get more money elsewhere, there's no doubt about that. So I think you're right, they thrive in this kind of backs to the wall, underdogs, all those cliches, they thrive in that. I mean, and they take the mick out of me. You know, Craig Kopchak's walked off today and said, when are you going to get that pitch water? You know, that was his first comment to me. So I'm saying to him, I'm putting 20,000 litres of water on it a day and I still can't get it.
It's telling me it rains on Wednesday.
Yeah. Well, I need some rain because that pitch is rock hard. And
it's raining on Wednesday, Sally.
Well, you know, I think we have a bond here that doesn't cross that line into anything disrespectful. And I think they all know, players, coaches, whatever, that you know when that line's crossed, there are harsh conversations to be had, but they're respectful of that. And you know, I think they're a great group. They'll all be out tonight, bonding with each other and having a beer, and that's how it should be. I think you know, I don't see any egos in our changing room. You know, from the younger, they've loved Kirsch today. When they've got in that changing room, they've absolutely battered him with affection and praise and, you know, slaps on the back and everything. And this is a kid that's played 80 minutes in his life. So I just think I still remember dark days of 2015 dealing with car crashes and stuff like that. So it's a pleasure to actually come in and know that, touch wood, they're not sat in a bad set of lads.
Last one, we'll let you go. You are third in the table, by the way, tonight, I'm told. So congratulations on that. not bad in the midst of an injury crisis, really.
Can the season finish now? What's that for?
Yeah. Hopes, your hopes. I mean, we've spoken to you when, like you said, the week before the £1 million game, when I can't imagine what pressure you were under, personally and professionally, on that day. You came through it, and this club has gone forward and gone forward and gone forward. What is, to these people in the room and the people that will catch up with it later on the podcast, where are Wakefield going? Where's the roadmap? What's the plan?
For me, it's the word I use all the time, legacy. So I want this community stadium built. I want the city of Wakefield to have a professional sporting team that it can be proud of, and that it can encourage the youngsters that we've got in this city and beyond to get out there and not just play sport, but get out there and enjoy doing something inspiring. Have heroes in this city, heroes like Dave Fafita, Danny Kermont today, 150th game as captain. You know, that guy is he is Mr. Wakefield. You know, I know he's King of Charleston, but he is Mr. Wakefield.
We'll ask you about him just quickly, because I spoke to him, Kermont, knows looked like he broke me again or whatever, but how many times has he put his hand up in an injury crisis when he shouldn't have played?
£1 million game.
Yeah.
You know, and he scores the first try in a £1 million game. Shouldn't have been anywhere near that £1 million game. Stuck his hand up. The Challenge Cup semi-final when we played Warrington wasn't anywhere near fit. Only had 16 bodies. Stuck his hand up. He has been absolutely the best player I've had under my control in the last 6 years. Just sticking with us. He could have gone to Salford. He could have probably gone somewhere else. You know, he was in the dream team. He's just been brilliant. He is Mr. You know, the captain. You epitomise a captain, you say Danny Kermont. He's been brilliant.
Well, we talk about testimonials. I think that is one that is well earned. It starts, I think, doesn't it, later in the season, and I'm sure everyone will get firmly behind him.
Yeah, it's funny because I think me and Richard had a chat about who gets a testimonial, and you know, you get a feel for somebody who deserves a testimonial. Danny Kermont ticks. He might not have ticked every box in terms of games, but he ticks every box in terms of what he's done for this club, and his legacy will be felt in the next 10-15 years, because there's no doubt he's inspired kids to come and play rugby league, not just for this club, but in community clubs as well, because you know what a great ambassador he is for the community game as well. So he's been brilliant.
Good stuff. Third in the table then. You got the home cup tie to come. Are you excited about what 2019 might bring?
When the eights disappeared, and we're not all scrabbling to get in the eights before the end of July, I did say to Chelsea I quite fancy a cup one. It'd be nice to go on 40 years from the last time we were there.
Richard has put some of his hard-earned money on you to win the cup, so don't let him down.
Wow, there is a...
No, that might pay for your new stadium, actually, if they win.
Fantastic. Yeah, I mean, a cup one would be great. The 2016, when we got to the Challenge Cup semi-final, we played Castle the week before, we were going really well, and then we got 5 injuries in that game, and it just decimated us for the week after. So it would be nice to get a few bodies back and then see if we could have a real good punt at the cup. But again, it goes back to, as long as these lads are having a dig for me, I can take any result that comes along.
And days like today, you're winning like you have done in the manner with the players you've got. I guess that's what it's all about, isn't it?
Yeah, this is a real high point, and these are the ones you've got to enjoy, because we know there'll be a low point along the way. Enjoy tonight. Everybody, every fan, everybody associated with Wakefield Trinity, enjoy tonight, because today's been a really great game, really great day.
Good stuff. Michael Carter, there are a few Wakey fans left. I'm sure they appreciate what you've done, as we do as well. Cheers, Michael. Thanks, mate. Well done. We're going to cut it reasonably short now. We'll do our predictions outside because we don't want to get heckled anymore. But look, it's been a good Easter. For St Helens, they've beaten Wigan, they've won again today, they've thrashed Hull. They're leading the way. Is anyone going to catch them scoring?
No. And you know what? They might not like it, the St Helens fans, but they are doing the treble this year.
Get off! Rubbish!
Saints are doing the treble this year, there's no two ways about it.
You see, you've said that before,
there's no debate. Hey, listen, there's no debate. Saints are doing the treble this year. It wouldn't surprise me if Wakefield avoid Saints for the Challenge Cup, Wakefield make the Challenge Cup. But Saints are doing the treble. And I'm not apologising, St Helens fans, and I'm not apologising just for the Oval.
The kiss of death. The kiss of death. Warrington, someone just said.
Warrington, that's Warrington do.
Yeah, well, he'll change his mind in 2 weeks when they get beat next week. It is always there, yeah. It will be one day. It will be.
It's been a good weekend for Robert Elston, because he said we're going to have a massive attendance on Good Friday. And a lot of, some people have had to eat some humble pie. I mean, we know what that's like on this programme. But, you know, they can treat a bit of humble pie. Good old Robert.
So I like seeing pie, whatever variety it is.
It's going to sell out the Magic Weekend now, you know. Small steps.
Yeah, small steps indeed. That's it. We'll cut it there for now. You got anything to add, Phil? A Leeds in crisis? You got to buy a t-shirt?
Well, no more than they were last week or the week before. They're certainly not consistent. Their best 40 minutes of the season was against Huddersfield on Good Friday. They couldn't back it up here against an exceptionally committed and spirited Wakefield team, and there still is a missing ingredient. I think we probably just do need to touch on the attendances on the Thursday and Friday. You know, the first thing that Rob Elston has to be judged on was getting more fans through the door. Yeah, some of that is on what fixtures you have. If you've got Wigan at home and you've got Hull at home and they're both in derbies, you've got Leeds at home, you've got Warrington at home, the likelihood is you're going to have a good weekend of attendances. Congratulations to him. I think, you know, 79,000 over the first games at Easter. That is a landmark, but we now need to build on that. We now need to know, like, what is next? Is it going to be how we promote the Magic Weekend on the back of that? Is it going to be looking at the Easter period and saying, actually now, if we only have one game over that period, we might be able to go from 79,000 fans to perhaps 100,000 fans if we get the right fixtures and make them into real big events. But you cannot knock him for saying he's going to achieve something and achieving it. So I think, you know, this programme has always said, let him set his own targets and we'll judge him on it. Well, he set one, he achieved it, and we take our hats off to him for that. I think that's encouraging for Rugby League. I think the viewing figures on television are still, you know, holding up, which is great when you're talking about a new television deal. Disappointed for Michael today that, you know, 6,785 deserve to be more here, and I accept that some of that might be Leeds aren't travelling in the same number that they would have done if they'd been playing a little bit better. But what more does he have to do on an absolutely gorgeous bank holiday Monday with his team sitting in the top 5 to get more people from Wakefield to come and see this fantastic team play? We've lauded them for, you know, the last hour, deservedly. And I think the future is really rosy for Wakefield, and there'll come a point when they can't play the underdog card because they deservedly will be ranked with the likes of St Helens and Warrington when a season starts. But what does he need to do to get more people to come in and watch this team play? And I think it's not just him, it's the game as well. We need to have that strategy for bringing more people through the game. Good Friday and Thursday including 9,000 at Castle, which was again a great attendance on a Thursday night. That's a landmark, but we have to build on it.
Good stuff. Last one then. Last one. You always talk sense, Phil. That's why we have him on. Who's going to make the 5 then? Scully, who's going to make the 5? We're nearly halfway through the season. Who is it going to be?
Saints, Warrington, Wakefield, Catalans, Cass.
Richard?
Yeah, go with those. 5.
No, yeah, all right.
Well, I don't know. I think everyone's inconsistent, aren't they? But some are less inconsistent than others. And Wakefield and Castle are less inconsistent than others.
Phil?
I think the only thing we do know is that Saints and Warrington, which is, you don't need to be a mystic mate for that. I think Wakefield, I think the importance of today, right, we said at the very beginning, was winning a game that is of a narrow margin, because they've gone through 3 where they just lost out. I think it's not just that you need confidence to know that you can hold out at games like that, but the fact is they should be able to kick on from this because of the amount of top quality players they're going to have coming back. So I think we said at the start of this season, Wakefield only need to finish the same as they have for the last 2 seasons, and they're in the playoffs because it's top 5 this year. They're actually a better team, so they should be in there. I think the other 2 positions are absolutely up for grabs. We weren't sure how Cass would go when Luke Gale was injured on the verge of the season. I think Michael Shenton's limped off today. He may be the next one that they're going to lose. I don't know if they'll make the 5 because I think they'll just run out of troops. We said Catalan should use the Challenge Cup as the springboard perhaps to be a top 5 team, but they're still incredibly inconsistent away from home. If they can cure a bit of that, they are potentially top 5, as they should be when they buy people like Sam Tompkins and Matt Whitley and Matty Smith and Sam Cassiano. That is a gesture of intent, so I'd like to think that they're a candidate. But as for the other team that in there, I still think there's somebody at the bottom of the league that could put a run together, and you know, that might be Wigan, it might be Salford, might be Hull.
Go on, say it.
It won't be Leeds.
Where's Grant McDermott to come in and say they're going to win the league?
Yeah, exactly.
We should tell you, by the way, those Leeds in Crisis t-shirts, dual purpose, not just Rugby League, but the football as well.
Oh.
Leeds United in Crisis as well.
Oh, no, you wrong
lose
son.
the audience.
You wrong son. You wrong son.
Up the blades. Sheffield's a bigger city than Bradford, just to the Bradford Bull social media team. Didn't realise that.
Okay, fair enough. Right, that's it. Shut up now. You've offended enough people. Thanks to you guys for coming. We appreciate that. Thanks for listening every week. Download the podcast. We'll do our predictions. Those will be on social media. Thanks to the legend as well. 46 Great Britain caps. Should have had more, but never mind. Thanks to Richard.
You like him really, don't you? You like him really.
I think Carsten's dying now. Thanks to Richard. Thanks to Phil as ever. Thanks to you for listening. We'll catch up with you next week. Back 6 o'clock every Monday night on 4020 Live. See you then.
He's off, guys.